Hi, my name is Mary Phelan and welcome to Introduction to Tarot. My website is telepathictv.com and consciousnessworkshops.com. I'd love to have you check it out. There are a lot of fun things to do. My two divination decks that I have created, the Inner Wisdom cards and the Spirit Animal cards, are online for you to play for free. And I would love for you to partake. And they are at telepathictv.com under the tarot link. I am going to be doing a multi-part introduction to tarot for those out there that would like a course in foundational tarot, how to relate to the cards, what they are good for, and various other things like that. In this first lesson, I'd like to talk about the different types of cards that are out there. There are thousands of different cards, and I think it's wonderful. If you go to eclectictarot.com, they have probably close to 1,000 decks by now that you can see a sampling of several of the cards. And I think primarily it's very important that you connect with the picture on the cards, and that's how I select decks. If a picture makes me feel uncomfortable in any way, I'm not going to be open to using them to let my inner self, my higher self, come and communicate, and my psychic abilities and my intuitive abilities to really come up online. Not only is it a good idea for you to connect on the feeling level, but it's important to connect on a visual level too. If the symbols and the imagery are not ones that open up your third eye, and they're different for everyone. A deck that your friend may have may be just wonderful for her or him, and they can do powerful readings with these decks and see all kinds of things in it. If it doesn't speak to you that way, then it's not something that is resonant with you. And when something is resonant, it literally opens up your third eye and your intuitive resources. So it's important for you to listen to what's right for you. But there are the whole oracle, divination type cards, and then the tarot. And the difference is very simple. Tarot decks follow a construct of a major and minor arcana. And they usually have 78, sometimes 79 cards. And there are a few decks out there that have 5 suits, so they're going to have more than the 78. And those can still be classified as tarot. And there are other types of decks that may have cards that have similar meanings to the tarot, but they're called divination because they don't follow that structure. They might just be numbered 1 through 44 or numbered 1 through something, and not be broken down into the suits and the major and minor. Minor and major arcana are subsets of a larger story that we have in our life. Arcana means the secret underlying all things, so we have a major thing, a major biorhythm that we have in our life that moves through. And then we have the minor biorhythms, not less significant, but they're minor in that they're smaller duration. They come like this. They're not major life patterns. The minor arcana talk about the smaller biorhythms, the day-to-day biorhythms, and the major arcana talks about those larger life biorhythms. And so you can look at the spread that you've put down or the cards that you've laid out in front of you and tell a lot about what they're saying to you just by looking. Are they major or minor arcana? And then you know if it's something of a larger rhythm or a more day-to-day rhythm. The court cards are classified as a minor arcana, and they are slightly different in that they represent people and ways of being rather than events or something happening to you. They are ways of being. So the King of Pentacles is somebody that's more of an externalized version of something. The Queen is the more internal version. And I'm going to talk much more about the court cards and the major and the minor as we go along in this series. But that's just a basic introduction. The oracle cards, you take them at face value, what they are, and allow them to sink in. I love both kinds of decks because the oracle are very inspiring to intuitive interpretations because they usually have some picture that's not in the same construct as tarot. And one of the things I've seen as people use the tarot for many years and go about doing readings with them is they get into a rut almost like a habitual routine. Oh, this card always means X, Y, and Z to me. And it shuts down that intuitive faculty. And further in the series, we're going to talk about ways to read the cards intuitively so that that doesn't shut down. The thing about oracles is they're not in some kind of a scheme, so we are more likely to be open intuitively when we read the cards. So I recommend having some of both because they really do speak differently and they come up with different points of view on everything. Every deck is like a different friend and they all have their own points of view. So when you select your deck, it's very important that that deck resonates with you, you feel comfortable with it. If there are any creepy feelings or uncomfortable feelings or not liking the art, well, that's going to impact how much you open up to when you're doing your interpretations of the cards. Some people do believe that you can only get decks that are given to you. I never turn down a deck if someone wants to give me a deck, but I certainly am the master of my tool. My tool is not the master of me. I respect my tool, but it is my tool, and I am the master of what I do with my spiritual tools. And that perspective is a very healthy perspective to approach anything with. And I'm not talking about disrespecting your tool. You respect it. It is a sacred portal or conduit to you and your higher self and your greater energies, but it is not your master. And superstition leads a lot of people to believe that tarot is their master and that it's a frightening thing then. And I feel that it is such a valuable tool and that it was held in the hands of superstition for so many years in order to keep it safe so that it did not disappear from our history books. And now it is here and it's out for us to use. So select your deck, treat it well, and make it your own. The next thing I'd like to talk about is storing your deck. You can store your deck in an assortment of different ways. I used to make pouches for each one of my decks. And then over time, I would know which one because I designed just the right material and the cord at the top, and I knew which deck was which. But over the years, I've got quite an extensive collection and not a lot of time, let's say, to make those pouches anymore. So I do buy them. And then I found that I had a lot of pouches on my shelf and I didn't know which decks they were. So I photocopied one of the cards I resonated most with in the deck and glued it to the front of the pouch, and that really worked out well for me. But there are a wide array of different ways you can store your cards, and you are the one that designs your ritual and your sacred practice. And find one that resonates with you and stick with it. Some people like to wrap them in silk scarves, some people like to put them in boxes, and I've even had people attend some of my tarot workshops where they had them in a plastic bag, a Ziploc bag, and another guy came and he had a big binder clip on the side of his deck. Whatever floats your boat, as they say, it's important for you to do what feels right to you. Although I do feel that the cleaner, the neater, and the more like new we keep our cards, the better, because it is a tool, and to respect your tool, you do take care of them. So if you're going to store them in a way that damages them, you may want to think about that just to make a new decision, or at least have the option to. Shuffling cards is also up to you. There are some decks that really support the shuffling like a deck of cards, and that there's a certain feel when you do that. It feels really good to be able to shuffle a deck of tarot cards. You feel like you're really getting a lot of your energy on the cards, and it's moving and moving them around, and some decks are really good for that. Now, more recently, a lot of the decks that are being published are very, very poor material to be doing that with, so you really have to use your own opinion about how to shuffle the cards. I knew a guy that rather than shuffling his cards a lot, he would meditate and think of a number and just count to that number and take that card out for his first card, etc., all the way through the spread. And so depending on how you select your cards, the amount of shuffling will be up to you. If you fan your cards out and select your cards that way, you don't really have to shuffle. So that's something else you can leave up to you. And that sums up this little mini lesson here, and please watch for part 2, and thank you so much for joining me. It was good to have you.